Welcome back, everybody, to Natural AF. I'm your host, Isaac.
And I'm Alexa.
This show is about maximizing your life, maximizing your potential, overcoming obstacles, healing from traumas, just being natural AF. But what does that mean? You know, we're breaking some of the old ways of thinking. We're breaking some of the paradigms, some of the sacred cows, these beliefs that were handed down to us. And through this process, through this journey, we are divinely led, I believe, to people that have these answers, these stories that come from their own shared experience, their own personal lives and their journeys, overcoming the exact things that we're looking to share with you, things that are common.
Yeah, there's so much that encompasses being natural AF, as we say, because it really does come down to who are we really, where are we really, and why are we here? It's like the big questions. And there's so much that encompasses what it means to live in alignment with that. So we do cover a very wide range of topics. And our guest today, Valery Topaz, who I now call a dear friend. I absolutely love Val. And I love this conversation because she brings so much nuance to a lot of these, you know, perspectives on life and the way that we view things, the way that we view traumas. And her own personal life experience is so unique. And I think, you know, really hearing her story during this interview, I think is what gives her such unique insights and perspectives on things and the way that she can communicate them so well. And as you'll see during this interview too, she's just so authentic in who she is, like how she shows up on this podcast, to how she shows up on social media, to how she shows up in our personal chats. Like she is just who she is. And I absolutely love that about her.
It was just cool the way that we just kind of organically met and just clicked. You know, there's people that you run into and you just see things in a similar manner, but you also are creative in your own different perspectives and the way that you view things. So I really like the different ways that she brings her expertise and her vision to problems that we're all like chipping away at, you know, relationship things, personal identity, masculine, feminine, and living in this crazy world where the society seems to be hell-bent on turning men into women and turning women into men and all kinds of nonsense in between. So
yeah,
it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, we definitely covered a lot of topics. It's a bit of a long one, but it's a fun ride. So stay along. If you think it's too long, put it to 1.5 speed, put it to double speed. I don't really care. I love these long conversations and I love just letting the conversation takes us wherever it goes. It's a very man-gen conversation. So we kind of did go here, there and everywhere. But as a projector, I was just along for the ride. I was loving it.
And because we go anywhere, there's a much greater chance that we'll cover something of interest to you. So that's the reasoning behind it. But I think that's what man-gens are here for.
Sure.
It's like we just kind of like boop, 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 testing the limits of the boundary, and we're just mapping out this reality and, you know, figuring things out as we go.
Yeah, lots of golden nuggets in this episode. But before we get into it, another reminder, we are going to be at the Harmonic Folk Festival up on the Sunshine Coast this Saturday, the 8th of November. We're really, really looking forward to this one. It's going to be a great event. It's hosted by our friends Kater and Barney Miller, who we had on recently, and they've collaborated with Remedy Collective, who we've also had Melissa Kupsch on as a guest, and we are affiliated with Remedy. We absolutely love homeopathy and everything that they're doing in the world right now. So we'd love to see you there. We're going to have a stall for natural art form, and I'm also going to have a stall for the first time doing human design readings. So super excited to be there. I think they're going to get a great turnout. Let's just pray that we don't get any rain because the wet season is coming here up in this subtropical region of Australia. But there's going to be lots on. There's going to be live music, line dancing, wellness sessions, speaker panels. So lots on. It's going to be lots of fun. We'll put the link in the show notes if you want to get tickets, and we hope to see you there.
Yep. Kater will be performing, and I'm excited by the musical lineup. They've really got some talented folks coming to this. So it's going to be quite the event. So bring some friends.
Yeah, it's going to be lots of fun.
All right. Of course, we are sponsored by our business. Natural Art Form is natural AF in the way that we create remedies and products that offer solutions to common things that people use, whether it's deodorant, a topical relief. We have a skin repair lotion, but everything is very, very interesting and unique. In fact, I have a hard time sometimes explaining it to people at the markets because there's so many amazing uses for these things. Like Regenerate, this lotion I developed for, originally was for a sunburn, but I had blisters on my hands, put it on, and the blisters, because of the DMSO and the aloe, actually absorbed back into my skin. So the way my reasoning works. I'm like, well, if it does that, what else can it do? So thinking along the lines of skin repair, like we said, man-gen over here, this brain. Are you familiar with comfrey? Comfrey, the Romans called it knit bone or bone knit. It's really, really powerful for helping bones heal faster. But the way it does that is through stimulating collagen production. Collagen is in your skin. It's what makes your skin elastic. It's what gives it this suppleness. And if it's hydrated, if it has good, healthy collagen, then it looks like my forehead, which is like a baby's. And I use it every day as a face cream. So I put comfrey in the DMSO and aloe with some calendula, blend it in with a couple of different essential oils. But what that does is basically just give your skin this amazing resilience from everything from hard work with your hands or just using it on your face to give it this, youthfulness and resilience.
Yeah. And for sensitive skin, like I've used it on dermatitis flare-ups. My mum uses it on her psoriasis. We have lots of women now buying it and using it as a face cream because not only is it great for collagen production, and we even have some customers claiming that it reduces their wrinkles. We're not making that claim. They are. And and it's super hydrating. It's got organic aloe juice in it, which is so amazing for the skin. And just so many uses for it. And people are always, this is a true story, guys. People are always shocked to hear how old Isaac is. You wouldn't think that he's pushing 40, but he is.
Yeah. Turned 39 this year. And
don't look a day over 35, babe.
The gray. But I'm on some colloidal copper. We'll see if that helps reverse this gray as well. I'm always interested in living as healthfully for as long as possible. Alexa and I have talked about, like 120 is a minimum for us.
That's not a joke. Like I'm planning to live to 120 years old. And so that's why if I shoot for the moon and, land in the stars, what's that saying? Yeah. Whatever. If I get to like 100, amazing.
Yeah. And she will be smart and as beautiful as ever in those elder years.
Oh, thanks,
without
babe.
Adrenochrome. So, just so you know out there, if you stumbled in here from Hollywood and you want to know, like, we've got some secrets in this business of ours and in this realm that doesn't require selling your soul, and we get way better results. We're having way more fun.
All right. Well, it is a man-gen day today because we have gone right off on a tangent. But before we get into the episode, if you would like to purchase any of our products from Natural Art Form, as our listeners, you will always get 10% off using the code NaturalAF10. And of course, when you're on the website, if you haven't already joined the mailing list, be sure to do that because that's where we send our monthly newsletter and all of our latest updates and offerings, and you'll always be the first to know there. So without any further ado,
let's get into the interview.
Let's do it. Valery is an energetic therapist and teacher with a decade and a half of experience in emotional mastery, applied spirituality, and multidisciplinary therapy modalities. Trained in advanced bodywork, movement, trauma, and the mind, she supports self-healers and practitioners in cultivating energetic coherence, deeper alignment, and authentic self-expression. Today we have Valery with us, and it's a pleasure to meet you. I really like your whole vibe, your content, your thought process. The stuff you share online is so valuable. And if you've been in this space long enough, you'll recognize the truth that's in it, because there's so many people out there that are just bullshitters, that are just following the crowd or trying to sound very spiritual, but they're not really embodying that in their real day-to-day life. And it's just so refreshing to see you as a mother and as a practitioner really actually living this stuff out, taking it seriously, but also having fun with it. And it's just, I'm excited for this conversation. Yeah, it's so good to have you on.
Thank you, guys. I'm really excited to be here as well, and lovely to see you.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird that this is the first time we're kind of face to face online, because we just met through you reached out to us through the podcast, and we had so many mutual friends, and we've just gotten to know each other, chatting over social media, and it feels like I've known you forever. And I was just thinking that, I was like, oh, it's so weird, we're jumping online, we're going to be face to face for the first time, but it feels like I've known you for so long.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I did see you online.
Yeah.
In one of the classes that I did.
Yeah. Well, I joined that too. That was awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good. And it's so nice to connect with other people in like this space, practitioners, coaches that are also aligned just in values and in wanting to live more freely and take more responsibility, because it's such a saturated market. And it's actually pretty crazy when you meet people that are, coaches and such, and you see the way they live, and it's just like, really, you're a coach? Like it's a little bit concerning, to be honest, that they're actually facilitating other people, and you're just like, oh, I don't know if you've got yourself right yet. But yeah, it's so awesome to connect with people that share the same values and are like-minded in that way.
Yeah, well, there's so much to say on that. I'm just listening to you and my brain goes tick, tick, tick. There's so much because, eventually we are all on that journey.
Yeah.
And I think the more you progress, the more you understand that there's so much more to do. It's not, I know it's cliche, but it's not just a saying. There's actually so much on that journey that we all need to learn and embody. That on my end, I'm happy to hear that this is how you view me, but I think, a bit hyper focused on everything that I still need to do and accomplish and
Yeah.
where are the gaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a common
But
trait of high performers.
I was going to say,
would
I can relate to that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll love to get into the the body work, the working with other practitioners, helping self healers, But I want to get into a bit of your origin story and what brought you to this space to begin with. Were you one of those, early indigo children that just like came in with some knowledge? Were you different from the get-go, or were there some chain of events that led you to realizing that you had work to do and that that was the journey for you?
That's a wonderful question because I've been sitting with it for such a long time. And you know how usually when you're somebody who wants to show yourself online and share your story, share your whys, usually you need to share that bit. What led you to do something? Is it natural? Is it an event? And for me, it's all of it. So it makes it really complicated to share that why. Most of the people that I follow, I see they have one why. I don't. So when it comes to all the energy work that I do, the clairvoyance, the intuitive work, I was born that way. I always had that. I think a part of it also has to do with my upbringing and the fact that my family came from the former Soviet Union. And back then, it was just the norm to combine mainstream practices with spirituality. Nobody, I think, even referred to it as spiritual. I remember our family doctor, the way my parents told me about it, the family doctor used to be somebody who would practice medicine as well as cupping and massage, and they will come to your house and do all of it. Also, from my parents' side, my dad is an engineer, my mom is an architect, and
Wow.
they were always seeing clairvoyance and readers and practicing energy. And if I had something wrong with me, I tend to get migraines, so my dad would massage my neck and shoulders, or things like that. That was the norm. And I also remember my brother. I actually don't know if my brother remembers it, but I remember how my brother used to read auras.
Oh,
And my brother
wow.
is a mechanical engineer.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
That's awesome.
Where do you think
yeah, it
that
was a
comes
normal
from?
conversation.
The ability to see auras, the attachment to clairvoyance. There is like a trope in movies where it's like the gypsies and the mystics are always like these Eastern European types. But I wonder if some of that's born out of the trauma of that region, all the wars, all the the revolutions and all that stuff. Do you think it's tied to that, or do you think there's like just a shamanic lineage or something going on?
I honestly think that in modern days, and modern, I'm not talking about our generation, I'm talking all the generations back. I don't think that it's possible to separate trauma from spirituality. I don't think that people use the word trauma too much back then, or I don't think that anyone really looked into neurology, brain development, nervous system regulation, and all of these things. or having the awareness of developmental cycles in children. And well, actually Steiner did so, and it was 1920. So yeah, it depends where. I don't think that people talked about that too much, but in more tribal and traditional cultures, the spiritual aspect was usually present, but trauma was also present. It wasn't just looked at directly. From my perspective, they're interconnected, because from what I see, our soul comes here wanting to experience something. And trauma is a wonderful way to trigger it, just based on where we are development wise as a collective. I don't see, I don't think that without trauma we have enough stimuli to do that. It's sort of like the way our society is set up. And I honestly don't know if we will ever grow out of it in this plane. Maybe when we do graduate and grow out of it, we go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But here, I think they are interconnected, whether we are aware of it or not, whether we talk about it or not. And it's not to justify abuses or anything, or to not it's not because I don't care about people going through trauma or think that we shouldn't stop doing these things. It's not to justify it, but it's sort of the reality. Because even when we're trying not to do things, not to harm our children, it still happens, because that's the human experience, basically.
Yeah.
Well, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we were just talking, the friends we've got over, we were just talking, had this conversation last night, and I'm a massive believer that part of our, soul contracts when we come in, like we choose things to a certain degree. My belief is that we choose. So for example, we want to come in and we want to help people. But to get to that place where we actually have the skills and the experience to truly help people through what they're going through, I think God gives us these experiences that are usually very difficult and challenging. And it's when we overcome them and we learn how to heal ourselves that we can then go on and do that for others. And I think I absolutely agree with what you said as well. Like the trauma can be a catalyst. It gives you the opportunity. It's an offer, right? Because as we see, some people just get stuck in that. That's the trauma just ruins their life. They can't overcome it. They can't get out of it. And often because they just don't have the resources. But when you make that choice to not attach to that story and not let it just completely ruin you and bring you down, when you overcome it, I think that's when it ends up becoming a gift.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that a lot in this spiritual community and also with practitioners. Any sort of therapist or coach or mentor, usually that's how it happens, because we go through that experience of having trauma in our life, becoming an empath, then people idolizing that whole idea of being an empath as if it's such a wonderful thing. You're so hypersensitive and you still live, you're so hyper focused and in love with yourself, thinking, oh, I'm an empath, it's wonderful, I feel everyone else, my story is so tragic, until you realize that it's just trauma, you're a mess, and you need to grow up.
Yeah.
And then you need to become self-accountable, heal these things. And yeah, of course, when you have something that ruins your life, you have to understand it so deeply that then you have the ability to help others, because you understand it better than somebody who just read about it in a book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, so going back to your story, and by the way, Valery's also a manifesting generator. So I always love, because Isaac's a manifesting generator, and you always say the conversation, we just go everywhere, but I love it. So going back to your story and how you grew up and tying that in, like what were some of your sort of more challenging experiences in life that you felt were a catalyst for you to like now be doing the work that you're doing?
So I think that there are a few layers to it. When it comes to my career in general, I started from bodywork because in that specific field, because before that I was working in pretty mainstream environments. So I don't know if we ever chatted about that, but my first proper job, because I grew up in Israel, we actually look at work from when you finish the military service. Everything prior to that, I started working when I was 14, but it doesn't count because it's not like adult work.
Yeah.
So military service. After that, I worked in the government, in the Ministry of Defense for a while. And then I changed to engineering. And it made me really sick.
Wow.
At some point, I got chronic fatigue, and I was told that I constantly lack iron and B12. I just couldn't wake up in the morning. And I always worked in really awesome environments. But the fact that it wasn't aligned with me and wasn't in my blueprint and wasn't my sole purpose, it wasn't sitting well with me. No matter how cool the office was, the people, the boss, it's not my thing. I just couldn't do it. So I started studying, and the first thing that I've done was bodywork, because I remembered since I was really young, all of my friends always told me, you have something special in your hands. You have really healing hands, and you just feel us without us needing to say anything. There's something in your hands. I'm now talking to you and thinking about stuff. So please tell me if I jump around, because it's like a puzzle. I remember thinking that and starting to do a bit of body work. And the first thing that I've studied was remedial massage and then orthopedic courses on top. But then I was still in the military. And I remember that somebody there in one of our trainings, one of the governmental officials, funny enough, he was also a really spiritual person, somebody from the Arabic community. He just grabbed me, took me aside, and said, you need to drink more water. You're going to be great at what you do. And you need to stop thinking that your abilities are in your hands. They're not in your hands. It's a lot bigger than that. And he went away.
Wow.
It was so funny. The
Very
Ministry of
interesting.
Defense, people in suits, a
Yeah.
whole simulation of war. And this is what we're chatting about.
Yeah.
There is
You
something.
never know.
Yeah.
There's something. I don't know why it's so much more exciting when I hear things like that, because like we interviewed Mark Devine, who's a Navy SEAL commander, and definitely tapped in on a lot of the same pages as we are. But he was teaching meditation, mindfulness, breath work, different forms of yoga, like mind, body, spirit union to
Well
warriors
before it was a thing.
back in the 80s, 80s, 90s. And just doing that for people in a government thing, exposing them to something beyond the hierarchy, structure, system, punishment, rules, like all that kind of culture. It's a gift. It's such a gift for those people, because it gives them another option of out. Because some of those people, when they get in that environment and they get beaten down, they get into dependence on chemicals and stimulants and drugs and all this stuff. But the spiritual path that's in there, when they experience it, the way that that you're able to show people, and the people you're giving stories to, like I was hurting, she knew exactly where to put her hands, and she did this thing and it worked. It's like it opens people up to a deeper reality. And I think it literally can save people's lives, because it's not just in the physical. Because I think when people are too much in the physical, that's where the nihilism comes through. That's where like all the depression and suicide and stuff like that, because there's no belief that there's anything out of this. There's no higher thing that you can have access to. You're just stuck in whatever physical conditions you're in. And that's not true unless you decide to make it true.
Well, that's how I lived my life for most of my life. I didn't know what God was for a lot of my life. And it's funny because I come from a family that my mum has always, like, grew up Catholic and then knew that, Catholicism wasn't right. But always had this very strong connection to God. But for me, I didn't know what it was. And that's how I had depression from a very young age. I was riddled with anxiety. I also struggled with alcohol and substances and things like that, because that's you just hit the nail on the head. Like, I didn't know that there was anything more than this physical reality. And once you learn that, it's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. You can never live your life the same again.
Of course, your perspective grows so much.
Yeah.
You can take so much more in. It's just impossible to hyper focus on yourself because it's not just you anymore. But don't forget that it's also an age thing, right? When you're a teenager, you're meant to be hyper focused on yourself. Toddler and teenager.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to think about that bigger reality, even if you do know. So, yeah, no judgment on
Good
yourself.
point.
Yeah,
Good
it's
point.
normal.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be who you are right now as an adult if you didn't do that when you were a teenager. You would start rebelling now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, like it goes back to being able to help people. Like I totally understand people that like adults that live like that. I get it. Like I totally get it because I was there once, you know, and because even in my, it was more in my early 20s, I remember, like my early to mid 20s. That's when I really like, I remember sometimes I would just sit and question, like, why are we here? Like what's the point of being here? And it would actually drive me insane though, because I had no concept of the things I have now, that we've been put here. We have a purpose. We have this unique blueprint. We have these unique gifts and skills. Like I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And I felt so lost. Like I felt so lost. And I think that again, like that's turned into a gift for me because I can see it in other people when they feel so lost. And there's always some element of disconnection that's happening.
Yeah, but so just to fill in the rest of the story, so how did you end up going to live in Israel, and like what led you to leaving where you were at? Like, I don't know if you mentioned what country you were originally from in
Russia?
Eastern Europe. Were you Russian, or is it another Soviet, former Soviet country?
Ukraine.
In
I'm from
Ukraine?
Kiev, the
Kiev.
capital of Ukraine.
Well,
Okay.
Ukraine was part of Russia at one point, right? Like it's only
Soviet
Yeah, it was
Union.
all-
yeah,
it was all
A
Soviet
part of the
Union.
Union.
So at what age did you go to Israel?
My family moved when I was 4, when the Soviet Union fell apart around 89, 90. So around that time, we moved to Israel because it just became super dangerous there. The whole regime was falling apart. And I honestly don't know if their intention was to move to Israel or it was just because all the other pathways were blocked. But I know that my family, as well as a lot of others, they submitted requests to move to a few countries. So it was usually Israel, Germany, America, and was it somewhere? Maybe there was another country, I'm not sure. But at some point, I'm not sure if I'm correct, but that's what I remember, that there was some sort of agreement between Israel, the government, and the government in Ukraine and maybe a few other countries in the
Yeah.
region to start sending people that have any sort of Jewish blood in them to Israel. There was a massive immigration from that area to Israel. Because every few years you can see that there was a major immigration from another country, another region. So there
Yeah.
would be like Europe and then Africa and Russia and then Iraq, yeah, like constantly.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
did you land in Rishon? Did you live in Rishon? Because I know there's a lot of Russian or Eastern Europeans in that part of Israel.
No, actually, I'm up north. I'm in Haifa.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
grew up in Haifa, which is a gorgeous area and also really multicultural and has all the religions in it. So there are Jewish people, Christian people, Muslims, Druze,
Oh
and
wow.
there's a big Buddhist shrine there.
Oh
The
Yeah, I
Baba
wow.
remember
Gardens,
seeing
the
that. Is
Buddhist
that the
center.
garden? Is that Buddhist? You said that whole big garden thing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and they have
Yes.
this gondola that goes up, and you can see it from the
Yes, it's
air.
gorgeous.
Did you go there? Isaac lived in
Yeah.
Israel for a short time.
Ah,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, I lived in Rishon, and
Really?
interesting story. I won't say
What
too
were you
much
doing
about it.
there?
I had a girlfriend there, and I met her in Wyoming. A friend of mine was dating this woman, and her sister came over because they were getting ready to have a baby. And so I met her, and kind of hit it off. Ended up in Israel, and shenanigans ensued. But it was interesting family. It was a family that had ties with Mossad and Netanyahu and all this stuff. It was crazy. So nothing like that was above the that was like the undertone. That was the context of the family, but no one ever spoke about it because it's very like it's like secretive and it's not what. Yeah, it
Of
wasn't like a
course.
big wealthy family. They were just living in a normal flat in a normal neighborhood in Rishon. But he just so happened to be like, buddies with some of the top guys.
Yeah,
Very
so,
interesting stuff.
So Isaac skipping country for a girlfriend is nothing new for him.
Yeah.
Because he did the same for me.
Well, I wanted to go to war in the Middle East. So one way or another, I got my war, and this one was a relationship that ended up being a little bit contested.
Did you ever
what do you
think about
Oh,
it?
go ahead.
What is your pull towards that area or those type of wars?
Yeah, well, part of it's like the Israel thing goes back to the way we're raised in Christianity, where I think now I look at it as more like brainwashing, to where it's where the Israel in the Bible and the characters in that are not the same as the Israel today, and what they portray as like, oh, this is the country that God said, if you bless me, I will bless you. If you curse me, I will curse you. Or you curse them, I will curse you. That whole thing was like literally like Abraham, his family, and all that. Some of these people in Israel now are, whatever. The lineage is hard to nail down, but there's some Khazarian in there. We'll just say there's some people that aren't actually Jewish that are setting it up, including, I believe, Netanyahu.
Well, and then you just happen to end up with someone else that's Middle Eastern background. So I think there's something about that flavor that he likes.
There's definitely a karmic thing tied to it. So I have no memory of it. If there's a past life connection, I've never experienced a memory or anything like that with it. My family doesn't come from any of these parts of the world. Maybe a very long time ago, but my dad's family comes from the Basque region of Spain. Who knows where they're actually from? And my mom's side is like Germanic and English, Irish. But I don't know. I think I just have this like wanderer gene. I want to get out and explore things and experience it. Part of the war thing, like I don't know, just that warrior motif was just always a part of me before I was ever in the military. And when I was a little kid, I remember I would just practice weapons all the time, like not just play guns. I would practice. I would like take little pieces of metal and practice for hours throwing it and stabbing it into things. Just like, so a bit different with stuff like that. And yeah, I just found it fascinating, but it was all about control. It wasn't just about bloodshed and going crazy. It was all about the discipline of the warrior and the honor and the just having the skills, so that if someone that needed you to defend them, or someone that needed you to fight the bully or the big guy. And I wasn't bullied or anything in school much, once, and then I punched him, and then that was it. So I'm not like this like person with a vendetta or hatred or anything, but it was just like somebody needs to be strong and know how to use a gun, in case it needs it. Hopefully it doesn't, but we need people like that, I think. And not all
It
the
sounds like
weapons
a
are
memory.
physical. Yeah.
It sounds like a memory.
Yeah, it could be. Very, very likely could be. I just don't know from where, but the whole world is riddled with, wars and all kinds of stuff. So
It's been there forever, right?
mm-hmm.
Can I share a story with you? It just you
Absolutely.
reminded me of something. During COVID times, actually I'll go back a bit. I was also growing up with my dad teaching me how to shoot guns, how to use all of these things. As a kid, I was running around the streets with a big knife, commando knife. I was training my German Shepherd to attack, to protect, all of these things.
That's full on.
So yeah, I had a lot of that going on. And there was also a lot of that military protection thing going on. Even I could explain it with the family lineage. I grew up with a grandma surviving starvation and war, and yeah, but still I didn't feel connected to it, and yet that was my upbringing. And only during COVID, all of a sudden I had a flashback I had a memory that I didn't see with all the past life regressions that I've done and everything. It was the first time when it came up because I was so active in the community with helping people, studying common law, organizing events and things like that. It just all of a sudden I had that memory of the people rising and there's like this rebellion and I could see myself. It was a memory of like my focus wasn't on what's happening in the country. Actually, it was a really individual, private, emotional experience of standing in the middle, looking back and seeing my family, my children, and thinking, what am I doing? People are waiting for me to lead them, but I have my children behind me. And that heartbreaking memory of I'm torn in, in both directions. I don't know what to do, where to go. Should I stay with my children or should I go and fight? I don't know why it came up, but there was something like in the frequency. You know how it's like when the frequency matches and then boom, the memory clicks. So sometimes you don't even remember where something came from until the right moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why I'm saying it really sounds also, because I can feel a bit because we did do a bit of connection before the episode. There are things that do sound like memories sometimes.
So when you said about trauma being a part of like I forget the way you phrase it, but like but spiritual awakening or spiritual powers or things like this, it's hard to separate it. I've been thinking about that because I had trauma in the military training. You could call it that, but it's very, very tough. It's designed to be very tough. Literally take you to your breaking point. I had fractured feet and just kept walking and rucking and carrying heavy weight and running and all that. But that was all voluntary. No one made me do it. It was like something I felt like I was literally born to go and do. And that pushing through that, finding that deep well of power within you spiritually and getting a tiny little taste of it, because I think it's super powerful. It's like infinite, and we get to experience, maybe this much of it typically until you go through a very tough ordeal. And then you're like, I will die or I'm going to have to access this much. And then you access this much and you don't always get access to that much, but you have these maybe moments where that comes through. And it's almost like I know 100% this is like the Jesuit thing. This is why they created the military training to begin with, but the special forces and things like that I trained with, I think they do make it as difficult as they can. And then out of that, they kind of cherry pick some of the more enlightened individuals that show up that they find. And they literally did that they made fun of it in the movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats, but it's real. Like they actually did do those programs and are probably still doing them. But it's through
Yeah.
that pressure, that trauma, that these new skills get unlocked, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's also a way to evaluate you. How do you deal with stress? How do you, because when shit goes down, you need to perform. And if you
Mm-hmm.
freeze, you're not the person.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things that are there from birth, just who you are, and certain things that can develop in you due to trauma. But if you know a bit about the polyvagal theory and the nervous system, how it works, you can go to fight, flight, run away. You can go into freeze, no use for the military. Yeah. Unless they want to train you and break your patterns and recreate new ones. But honestly speaking, there are so many people. Why would they do that? They can just choose the ones who automatically go into fight.
Right.
So you need parents that made you fight, that
Yeah.
made you explosive, and then to control that by bullying you in the army. It's a lot easier to do that, to tell you you're not allowed to do something, but you already have that fire in you, than somebody who goes into freeze.
Yeah.
Yep, I would have
So
been
I know
useless in
because,
the military. That's me.
but you don't know. You have no idea unless you are in those situations for real. I can see now when I'm looking at myself and I'm looking back, I surprised myself so many times in real life situations So every time I was in a situation, I was in car accidents, terror acts in Israel, all of these situations when you need to show up, I'm the first person to show up. So I have this automatic drive, and it's not like I'm special because I went to the army. Everybody went to the army. It's like, or
Right.
work in defense. It's like the whole country. It's not unique,
Yeah.
but it's an automatic response that I have in me. So when something happens, I take care of things, and then I go home and I stress 2 hours later, and then I'm all nauseous and dizzy, and oh my God, what happened? But the first thing that I do is, whether you need to resuscitate someone, whether you need to save someone, I just, I don't care about these things. And things that I was sure, I can't even watch a scary movie. Like I would never expect these things from myself. But then on the other hand, I'm such a involved and protective mother. I learned that when my child is in danger, I freeze. And I hate myself for it, and I judge myself for it, and I'm like, how can it be? How can it be when my own child needs rescuing and I need to jump? I freeze. Well, like I don't hate myself for it. I judge myself for it. Yeah.
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 And it's so weird. Like you have no idea. Some things are just patterns in your nervous system. So when it comes to military or certain careers like that, they pick you. I don't know how it's like in the States. I know in Israel you just have psychotechnical tests all throughout. They already have your profile when you're in kindergarten,
Oh,
and
wow.
there are a few tests that you do when you're at school,
Yeah.
and they tell you where should you go, what should you do.
Wow. Yeah,
Interesting.
they don't do that so much in the States. There's just too many people, and I mean, you
Yeah.
probably could still do it, but they really put a lot more effort into selection for the people that they want to put a lot more money into training and to push resources to. So, like infantry, if you can fog a mirror and shoot relatively straight, you can go in the infantry. There's people that I think were literally retarded in my boot camp through my infantry training that were in there that made it, and they pushed them through. They like forced it because they just need bodies on the front line,
Wow.
allegedly. But
Do they still do
then
that, really?
maybe not so much today because the need for troops has gone down. But during the height of the Iraq, war and all, Afghanistan and all that, yeah, they were pushing people through that couldn't even, the people that couldn't even shoot, where they were like, we're just going to spend an extra week just for this guy to see if we can get him to at least hit it a few times, hit the targets, and then we'll put him down range and put him on the gate or something,
Wow.
But for the
Isn't
special
that
operations, they
horrible?
do that. Yeah. But it's pretty obvious. I mean, it's like you're going to, the Marines is a bit like that as well, although it's much more tough physically, mentally, emotionally. And I'm convinced at this point the Marine Corps, I don't know if I'm saying this wrong, but I have a few friends from the Marines. They all, before they even put on their uniform, they were screaming like kill, 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 like
Oh my God.
blood, death, like this. It's like a blood cult almost, the way that they get them like, what are Marines here to
Yeah.
do? Just kill everyone. Like that's kind of
Well,
the
I've
brainwashing they get in the beginning of their training.
Yeah, well, we've got a friend in the States that's in the Navy, and that was her kind of her explanation was the Marines are kind of like the big dumb, like they're just the brawn, like they're just the big dumb, like
Muscle.
meat suits that are just going to go and like that kill everyone. And it's like, yeah, it's interesting the different sort of profiles of people that get put into different arms of the military.
Yeah. But I will say this, though. Most people that I met that were in the Marines that came through and did special forces training with us, they didn't need any like catch up. Whatever their job was, if they were a truck driver in the Marines, they were already there with their infantry skills, the tactical discipline, the weapon discipline. Like you could count on them. They're solid. You could tell them like, hey, sit here. Like whatever you give them the instructions to do as part of your training, you could always count on the Marines because they're just, and it's not just from the outside. It's like, oh, they're just like drones. They're just dumb. They're just brainwashed. No, they have this very powerful self-discipline and this ability to focus and stay calm and think their way through things. So it's not just brainwashing. It is conditioning. And I wonder what you think about it. I was often wondering about that. I'm like, I get it. I know, like, oh, the brainwashed masses, all this stuff going on in the truther world versus the normie world, and the military's evil and bad, and it's all satanic and stuff. But I'm like, the freedom world needs some of that military structure and discipline and competency, because it's a bit too, like, freedom's great, but you get a little bit too much freedom, and it gets to be a bit like Nimbin, where we're at. Like, near us is kind of this big hippie village, and I don't see them as like a formidable force against anything. Like,
Yeah, but I think it depends on how people, if people think
no
freedom.
offense to people in Nimbin, it's not, you know, what they accomplished there was like a big music
they're
festival
like the
that turned
old,
into a town.
they're like the old hippies. But no, but I think it depends on what people define freedom as. If people think freedom is just doing what you want, whatever you want, whenever you want, that's not true freedom. True freedom is taking full self-responsibility, and that does require structure and discipline. So I think that if once that's differentiated, that like, yeah.
But yeah, talk about jumping around on topics. Sorry about that, guys.
It's just a man-gen conversation over here, guys. It's fine.
Yeah.
Isaac, I don't know if you know, but me and Alexa, we spoke about it, how me and my partner, I'm the MG and he's the projector and you're the opposite.
Really?
Yeah.
So I told him about it yesterday, I think, that we had that conversation. And he said, tell Alexa that I need to talk to her. We need to start a support group for projectors that are somehow surviving with generators and MG.
Honestly, I actually feel that's actually a great idea, because I sometimes, that's what I'm just like, oh, how am I going to do this for the rest of my life with a man gen? Like it's so much, what's the word? Adjustment for me, because my mum's a projector. And my dad and brother are generators, but like straight generators are more, that's like, they're more linear. They just do, you know, we go step by step by step. Man gens are just like, we're just going to go here, there, and everywhere, and we're going to jump around. And it's like, for me, I'm just like, oh, I just feel like I get left in the dust a little bit sometimes with Isaac.
Yeah, but you know, the way I see these things when it comes to human design, just like with astrology, I see it all as blueprints and potentials.
Yeah.
But you still need to be responsible to deal with your shit.
Yeah.
And, you know, give yourself some discipline and boundaries, because it's basically, it's like it shows you that if you're an MG, you have a lot more struggles with structure and discipline. But what it means is not that you should be flaky and jump around. What it means is that you should work on it twice as much as in comparison to other people. That it's just harder for you, but you still have to master that.
Well, and it's also, I see it as like, that's what I always remind myself of, and different, because there's so many different aspects of a chart, but just knowing that, because really, if you think about it, that's also a gift. Like, it's a gift to be able to multitask and do not so much multitask, but to jump from different things and just get things done. Like, it's just like, I can't work like that. Like, I can't, it happens often when I'm like jumping around, I've got a million tabs open on my computer. I get to the end of the day and I feel like I've done nothing, because I'm just jumping around. I'm losing track of what I'm doing. But Isaac, I see when he does that, like he just has the ability to like sit and do work on his laptop and then like, okay, I'm going to make product now. And then he's in the kitchen for a couple of hours doing that, and that gets done. And then he comes back to something else and he gets that done. So it's also like seeing the gift in it. But of course, everything's going to come with a challenge. And that's like in human design. That's what I love about it. It still has that duality of like, there's a gift and there's always a shadow to it. And then it's like how you work with the shadow.
Yep. But that's just a reality. That's a reality that everything has, we're in a dual plane.
Yeah.
So everything has duality in it. Yeah. If you want to enjoy the gift, you need to get the shadow under control. You need to learn the skill. You need to harness that. That's how you get to the gift. That's just the reality. It doesn't matter how you look at it, whether you look at it through numerology, again, astrology, it doesn't matter. It's always the same thing. It's just the human nature.
Yeah.
And yeah, to answer your question, Isaac, with freedom, it's such an important point. Well, first of all, I don't view the world like that at all. As you said, you know, the normies and then the spiritual community, I don't separate at all. I think the more you go into these things and the more you learn about the connection between real spirituality. I'm not talking about the new age fluffy stuff, the hippie. community. I'm talking about real spirituality. If you actually look back in history, all the true spiritual practices are based on discipline. If you look at yoga, what is yoga? How do you show up in your mind? And basically, practicing yoga is practicing meditation and breath work daily, and practicing mindfulness daily. That's yoga. When you look at any religion, not just the monotheistic religions, but before that, any traditional religion, it's your devotion and commitment to a regular practice, especially internal practice, not just you giving yourself to something external, whether it's a god or a belief or community or the priest, doesn't matter, but it's mainly inside. How do you connect to that bit inside of you? And you work on that every day. So real spirituality, I don't think that it's all hippie and woo-woo. It is basically it's the discipline of growing your perspective, of growing your understanding and your compassion, and also your consistent showing up for that something that you chose to devote your life to. That's spirituality in my eyes. So I don't actually see it as something that's, there's all the let's manifest stuff and love and light, and it doesn't speak to me at all. And also when it comes to freedom, what I've seen in the last years, how it separated people, I can't relate to that at all, because I think that any person that ever experienced some sort of enlightenment experience, which again, I don't think that enlightenment is just one singular event that makes you different. I think that life is full of little bits and of growth and enlightenment when you have that break, when something bad happens, traumatic, painful, it breaks you, and then you have that crack that you can go through, see the light, or however you experience it, hear the music, but basically your consciousness expands, and when it contracts back, it's bigger than it was before. That's like a process of enlightenment. So you have a lot of these in your life. Some people might have only one. I don't know, in my experience there were a lot. And when you have that process happening, every time your perception grows, but also your perception is so much wider that at some point you understand that every person that you know, every person that you see around you in your reality, on the news, on social media, doesn't matter where it is, every person believes that what they're doing is right, what they're doing is good, what they're doing is true. I'm not talking about people that like some evil elites that I'm not even sure if they're actually human or fully human.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the human soul, the human experience, the human soul, and then the human spirit, which is the thread of the soul. I don't think that there's anyone who actually has that thought process of how am I going to harm? Even people that kill and torture and abuse, they justify it. In their head, it makes sense due to their life experiences. They feel like maybe they can read the world from somebody else who's evil or stupid, that they see beneath them, or they see as destructive and evil, or maybe they see the image of their abuser in the other people. But there's always some justification. So, I know people, I knew people, now not so much, but I knew people that are a lot more mainstream. They always had a rational explanation as well as an emotional explanation to why what they're doing is true. You can see that a lot in the vaccine conversation, yeah? Especially with parents. You see parents that don't vaccinate, they're like, are you stupid? What are you doing? You're killing children or maiming children. And then you have the parents that vaccinate kids, and they're saying, I'm trying to protect the population, I'm protecting the weak, can't you see? And they're both right. So I can't really judge people like that. Here's us, the freedom community, and them, the mainstream people. I used to do that. I used to do that a lot when it came to COVID vaccines. But I think a lot of us went through that period of time. But if you look at it from a more energetic perspective, people that are freedom fighters, they're not higher energetically. If you go into that fight mode, it's actually lower. It's more like a dip, and then you get to go up if you choose to.
Yeah.
People that are still there and still talking about, oh, these people are doing that, and there's I know they're the good guys and the bad guys, and their perspective is only on that duality. That's basically not graduating a spiritual evolution. When you graduate that stage, you can move past duality. You can see that it's not you versus me. There's a bigger truth that includes
Yes.
all of us.
See, that's why I like bringing up that movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats, and the military side of it, because I lived the military special forces side. I wasn't special forces, but I trained in that environment. And then, like, I give a lot of guff to the Nimbin, the hippies and all that. But in that movie, they combine, like, they intersect. There's this guy that's in the movie is played by, I can't remember his name, but he's really funny actor, but he's like the kind of guy that would put flowers in his hair and then just go outside and just dance. But he's also like a really tough, very strong guy. And the actual guy from that movie, I don't know if you've seen it, or for our listeners, if they've seen that, the actual guy that was doing this mind over matter, like astral projection, remote viewing, in that environment was also like literally like a Chuck Norris style like movie, but the actual guy, badass in the woods or in the jungles of Vietnam, like, shooting machine guns and, all this stuff. But there's this intersection of it where it's like the Japanese samurai and the peaceful beauty of what you think is like the quintessential Japanese tea ceremony and the care that they do and all these things. And then they have the sword and they train to do this battle. But there's always been this fascination with me with the spiritual and the self-mastery and then the service of others of the warrior motif. And I think going back to my Christian upbringing, I don't know how you were raised, but I was raised Christian in the belief that there's a spiritual battle going on. And I see that aligning well with the reality that we've been going through with COVID and all these forces that want us to do things to ourselves that we don't believe is healthy and actually is very damaging. And to fight that, you need both. You need to have that ability to say no and just, okay, I'm going to build a garden. I'm going to find a way to build a system outside of you for freedom. But also, more importantly, connecting to the higher power, connecting to that, if you have psychic ability or the ability to tap into intuition, to make decisions. I think that is basically how you could call it the new earth. I think that term has kind of been hijacked and is, I don't know, a lot of people are throwing it around, but it's like a new way where we have the ability to connect to the God, if it's external through internal, whatever. It's super important, but also having that groundedness in the physical thing. I think physical training, weapons, whatever, discipline.
Yeah,
like
well, that's what I was going to say. It ties in so nicely to what we were talking about before, where, like you were saying, like as a mother or just as a person in general, like you've got to have access to these different parts of us, because that's essentially what it is. It's like these different, we're so multifaceted as human beings, and it's having access to those different parts. And so, yes, there's going to be a part that's like the warrior, this warrior archetype. But then there's also this part that, and that's what, like, bringing it back to like the spiritual, especially in the context of it being a spiritual war, that's when you have to have the structure and the discipline in those spiritual practices, true spirituality, because that is what's going to protect you. Like, it's so much easier to just work a 9-to-5 job. Someone will give me a paycheck. I'll come home and put my TV dinner in the microwave and sit and watch TV. Like, that's how a lot of people live, because it's just so much easier to do that. And they're the ones in the context of a spiritual war, they're the ones that are being hijacked and that are being totally corralled into doing whatever the the elites. What is I prefer to call it the parasitic class. That's what Alex Zek calls it. The parasitic class.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what they are. And they're the ones that get corralled into doing whatever they want them to do. But for us on the other side, I totally agree with this. Like these people that get stuck, like the people in COVID that quote unquote woke up, and they're still stuck in this fighting. Like, oh, they're going to do this and we got to fight this. And now they're doing this and we got to fight this. And it's still completely feeding into that. Well, one, the division, but it's also just putting more energy into whatever quote unquote they want people focused on. So it's still like negative. And I think it also comes back to, you know, tying that back in with like bringing it back to the individual. And like what you said, it's like when we start to look at other people as, or, you know, groups of people as separate to us, again, I think that's just a reflection of ourselves. There's a part of us, there's something within us that we see in that other person that we don't like or we don't identify with or we think is weak or whatever. And it's essentially just a reflection of a repressed part of us that we see in the external in someone else. And we go, oh, no, I'm not like that. Oh, I'm not like them. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, Val, so we got off track with your story, but it might be kind of a cliche thing to talk about now, but I think it's still important, especially with your unique perspective. The whole thing going on with the Israeli and the Palestinian and Gaza and all that stuff, being from the IDF, like formerly in Ministry of Defense, but also being you and, you know, very willing to speak your mind. What do you see? Well, first, like, what's your opinion about all that? Like the whole, you know, retribution for the January or whatever, the October 6th thing, all the drama, all the death, all the bloodshed, the flattening of Gaza, but also the Israelis that were killed and all of that. Like, where do you kind of stand now, just in this moment on that?
Well, just like everything else, I think that the most important thing to mention is that not everything is black and white. Mm-hmm. And everybody have their own individual context of things based on their life, their experiences, how they grew up, where they grew up, the ideas they grew up with. There's a bigger truth, but also that bigger truth has layers to it. So the main thing that I can say is that I think that there's no way for anyone to know everything because there's so many layers to it. But I can tell you that I'm really complexed by it because I have my own individual experience of somebody who grew up there. On the one hand, in a multicultural city where, as I said, I worked in the government, in the army, and all of my chain of command were all Arabic. And my job in the Ministry of Defense was to support the Arabic population and the minorities when people from Gaza or other Arabic countries were attacking Israel. So we were protecting the Arabic population from the Arabic countries. Mm-hmm. You know, so
not just that. Jews. So when you say Arabic, so Arabic is other than Jew, is that correct?
They're not Jewish. They're Muslim. They're some of them are Christian. It depends. It's funny. It's hard to explain because I know when I just moved to Australia, everybody that I spoke with and I said, I'm from Israel, they said, so you're Jewish? And I'm like, no, I'm not Jewish. It's like, what do you mean? You're from Israel, you have to be Jewish. And I'm like, I know more Arabic Israelis than Jewish Israelis, you know, around the world. It's like you can come from Iraq and be Jewish, and you can come from Israel. Well, not anymore, but back in the day before, the extremist Muslims that took over.
Yeah.
When it was still allowed.
Yeah,
it's like Egypt.
You're welcome for that, by the way. Straight out of America, we trained Saddam Hussein at my old stomping grounds in Georgia.
But it's like Egypt. My mum's from Egypt, but her family is Catholic. And that's part of the reason they moved out of Egypt was because now I think it's like 98% Muslim. And it was very hard to live as a Christian there. And that's part of the reason they decided to leave. But it's the same thing, because growing up, quite often most often I would get asked if we were Coptic, the Orthodox, because that's the other, like, more, like, it's mostly Muslim, and then you get the Coptic Egyptians, and then like a very, very small minority are Catholic, and usually because they immigrated to Egypt. So it's the same thing. People just assume if you're from there, you're whatever religion, but it's so nuanced.
Yeah, but you see that usually in the countries where there's where the Muslim religion is present, usually they become the majority, and then other religions just can't live there. So that's one reality, and it's happening all around the world, and now in Europe as well.
Yeah.
So I'm aware of that. I'm not. It's not that I have an opinion. I just observe and I see that this is what's happening. And I also understand that there are tendencies. Different religions have tendencies. Yeah. For instance, in Islam, if you're not Muslim, you're an infidel. You're betraying their God. In the Jewish religion, you don't have that. You need to pass a lot of tests to even be considered to become Jewish.
Yeah.
But then, personally, you asked me how I was brought up. We did not have a religion, and I was introduced to all the religions, and I was told, choose whatever you feel that's working for you. And for a long, long time, I was a really outspoken atheist.
Wow.
It didn't correlate in my head, those energetic abilities and clairvoyance and all of that with God. It was like, aren't we all like that? I didn't know that other people are not like that, but for me it was I was still talking. Now I understand I wasn't against God. I was against, or the idea of God. I was against religions, because I saw what was happening. I saw how in the school system I was pressured to convert to Judaism as somebody who lived in Israel. I saw what was happening in the Muslim world. I saw, so all of that, it just didn't sit right with me. It didn't sit well. I can't say that I had too much exposure to Christianity until I moved to Europe, to the Netherlands, and then here, but mainly here in Australia. A lot of it's mainly the Christian conversation. But even though I think on my mom's lineage, there are Christians, but because they grew up in communism, nobody actually practiced it. So basically, growing up, nobody practiced anything in my family.
Yeah.
So it was more about, with religions, I wasn't a big fan. Then when it comes to now, Israel, Palestine, look, one of my best friends is Palestinian. And I really don't, again, when I speak about Les, I don't separate and judge people based on that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it applies when you talk about a whole like military situation or countries, because first of all, it's government against government or people in power. It's not the people. And there's also realities, how people grow up. Do people grow up hearing kill everyone? Do kids grow up hearing the words hate them? I'm not talking about one side. I'm talking about any side and any situation. I don't want to go in depth because I think it would be ridiculous of me to speak about Palestinian people growing up in Palestine, where I've never been to Palestine. I didn't live with them. I read books, I saw movies, I saw shows. I'm also aware of propaganda, and I have no idea if what I was told is true. What I can say is that I've experienced it 2 times, that when my family left the former Soviet Union, there was no difference for people Russia, Ukraine, and now there is. And when I was growing up in Israel before the Intifad, that who the hell knows who orchestrated that? There are theories, but I can't as an individual know. But there was no separation, and the country is still set up in the way where it's all merged. And yet you can hear all of that conflict happening which understandable. I know that somebody told me a few days ago that there was an article about people in Israel, and they were interviewed, and most of them said that they don't care if people in Gaza die, meaning people in Israel are bad. And I'm saying, well, think about it. If you are born in a country, you grow up, and buses with your friends explode. There are terrorists that can appear from nowhere. You go on the street and you can be kidnapped and killed at any moment. How would you experience life? Would you
Yeah.
say, oh, let's save them when they can kill you? And then on the other hand, if you were growing up in Palestine and you see military everywhere, how would you feel? I just think that it's really just like with governments. If people ask you with politics, are you with the left or the right? What's your opinion? I don't think that it's the right thing to answer. That separation to two, that dual view of things, I don't think it's right. I think the truth is above.
Yeah.
Who is creating the separation?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what are they
exactly.
harvesting from it?
Yeah,
The idea
well,
of the battery, it's they create the split, create the polarity, and then the plus and minus, them or us,
yeah.
creates energy and out.
And with the whole Israel-Palestine thing, like we've got Palestinian lineage on my mum's side, and we've got kind of far back, but we've got a friend here, a very good friend. Like she's like an auntie to me, who's Jewish Israeli. And she's very, like, she doesn't buy into, she was raised by really beautiful people in Israel that were always for, you just love everyone. Like there is no separation. And so she was telling us, because her family's still over there, she's got friends over there, and whenever the last bombings were, or like it was a few months ago, like earlier this year sometime, and she was in touch with people over there, and she was saying like there are protests almost every day by the Jewish Israeli people to stop this. But you don't see that in the media because they don't want to show that. They want to show, it's the Palestinians against the the Jewish Israelis. And here in the Western countries, they're protesting for one or the other side. Like it's so ridiculous. And again, it's kind of annoying when people in our communities, who I believe should know better, are still buying into this division, because that's all they're doing. It's the divide and conquer, divide and conquer. They do it all around the world. They've been doing it for millennia. And it's just this always divide and conquer. And people are still buying into it. It's just division. It's to pit people against each other. And often, like you said, we're never going to know the full truth, but often it's the ones at the top that are orchestrating everything and then just giving you the pieces of information they want so that you believe that it was this group or the other group. And it's like,
they're
going
with
above
everything
everyone's
that's
heads.
happening here and in the Western world, it's just ridiculous because people are talking about things that they have no idea
Exactly.
about.
Exactly.
Anything.
Yeah.
People that are marching pro-Palestine and they can't even put Palestine on the map.
Yeah.
They don't even know which areas are Palestine. It's ridiculous. I think that it's so stupid. A lot of these people are like, they are hating on Israel. They don't even know where Israel is.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah. And there's an element to this as well. That's like a spiritual thing. And I remember if we were talking about this, but I was remembering when I was a kid, I would get picked on by one of my older brothers, or a couple of them, but one in particular. And I would get I was a bit more reactive, more emotional. Like, he'd look at me a certain way and I'd be like, Mom, he's looking at me. Like, but that was all a choice. It was so ridiculous looking back now. But later when I became an early teenager, I just decided, I was like, oh, like he's cool. Like we're friends now. And me and my brother and I, we became roommates in the house we moved to in Texas. And then we were best friends. We worked together. We played pranks on each other. We laughed really hard. The same things that he used to do to just trigger me, it would make me laugh, and we joke about it. And, and then I realized my perspective changed. Like what he was doing is he really likes being connected. He just likes getting a reaction from people, but more of it's just, he just wants to connect. He loves you. And he's like, my brother's just a big teddy bear, but he's And some of these, so what I'm saying is there's this tendency that people have, and I know it because I experienced it, where you want to be, it's like you're just reacting to things. And if you shift your perspective on it, it's like, oh, we're actually like the same. So people like you that grew up kind of in this like divide, former Soviet Union, in the Israel Palestine thing, it's a decision, and it's kind of like a way of life that you have a perspective that's different. And people like you could also be in a very different state where they're like there's plenty of evidence that the Palestinians are the worst. There's plenty of evidence that the Israelis are the worst. And you could pick a side and be embroiled in that emotional thing. But when you're not as, I don't know what the word is, but just unconsciously and wrapped into that intensity.
Yeah, when there's an emotional charge behind it, but the emotional charge is totally unconscious because, like you said, Val, most of the time they don't even know the actual facts, or they don't know the history, or they don't know anything about it. But I heard this thing and it makes me feel this way, so I'm going to react to it. Like I feel like that's what we're seeing so much of, like in so much of this, what's going on.
People believe what they see on social media and news are even worse.
Yeah.
And like, if we were aware that most of the things that we saw during COVID were fake.
Yeah.
You can't even, why is it so hard to comprehend that with this situation, a lot of the things that you see are fake as well?
Yeah. On both sides.
Or anything else on the news, anything, as it was forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole idea of buying into these things, picking, choosing sides, talking so, like really emotionally identifying with things like that, you do need to have enough trauma and a pattern of that experience for you to resonate with it, of course. And that's why I think that it's such a big thing to create enough trauma for the human collective. I think, I don't know, I think that some of it might be just the human nature where we are, and some of it is intentional. But everything we spoke about till now, whether it's military service, whether it's political agenda, your beliefs, what do you emotionally identify with, spiritual abilities or lack of awareness and intuition, it all has to do with how traumatized you are. And some of it is just nature, and some of it is by design. You need to be broken enough either to be controlled or to let the light in, or both.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, that's spiritual growth, right? That contradiction and how it constantly grows, how your perception of it grows, but both exist at the same time. You will still have emotional reactions to it. You asked me how did I feel about, what happened. On October 7th, when I heard about the horrors that were happening there, I was shattered because it's like, it's beyond comprehension. It's not humane in any way. At the same time, I'm still aware of the reality. I'm aware that, first of all, I have no business in thinking about stuff when I'm right here in Australia. That's not how humans are designed. We are supposed to take care of our family and our community, not to care about everything that's happening in the world.
Yeah.
I understand that I feel that way about Israel and not about Ukraine just because I spent more years and more like adult years in Israel and not in Ukraine. But other people that grew up in Ukraine, I know with the war with Russia, Ukraine, they feel the same way about that situation. I don't. I don't have family there. I don't have friends there. I guess, you said that I grew up in that dual split situation. I would say that I grew up in a situation where I got to see unity as well as division in the same areas. I know how it's like when there's unity and just people being people, living together, collaborating, even if I didn't see hearing about it or having the experience from my family, and then moving and having the same thing of all the generation above me talking about how they lived together, how everything was united. and then something happened and people were just redirected against each other, and all of a sudden there's this new thing, you know. So I guess that would be how I describe my experience.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to hate people. I understand situations. I can feel pain for, obviously, you know, empathy and sympathy and the heartbreak. At the same time, I don't judge because I have no idea what's actually happening.
Yeah. And I feel for the people on both sides, because there's something to it, you know, when you've got your countrymen involved. Like, that was part of the 9/11 thing. Like, whatever actually happened, the story that most people saw and accepted, you know, that's something that was presented to them as true. And it's not obvious at the outset unless you do a little bit of digging. Then you start seeing some anomalies. But it's like, I understand people that believe that, because I was one of them. I was like wrapped right into it. Like, Muslims are trying to take our freedom. You know, they hate us for being free. Those kind of things that they brainwash us into. So I understand that, and I have compassion for my fellow countrymen that went to war and you know, were involved in all that. And you know, I hope that they can forgive themselves if they see it differently and now feel like some of the stuff that they did or what they were involved in was a mistake. And the same thing with the Gaza and the Israelis and all of this. It's like, later, when stuff cools down and they maybe see things differently, and they try to repair, I hope that it's a swift repair, or at least some place where they can come back to, like, all right, we were very angry and very hateful, and we can repair. We can find respect and love for the other, and respect and love for ourselves, despite of what we did in the heat of the moment. Because that can also be very damaging when when you really hurt people or you have a lot of hatred for them. I think you bear as much wound as you do to someone else.
The collective trauma is huge. It's huge, and just unfortunately, I can't see any repair happening anytime soon, because repair in the Middle East means the States and Russia deciding that they don't need that battlefield anymore, because it's just a battlefield for the bigger countries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's like a
people
proxy
suffer,
war. Yeah.
but yeah, it's a proxy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just think, like, always, you know, when it comes to these conversations, and like I mentioned it earlier, it always comes down to, because I think so many people, like, especially when you see like people in the Western countries, pro-Palestine protests and pro-Israel protests, and it's like people are always trying to externalize change in the world. And it starts with you. If you can't heal yourself, and if you can't change yourself for the better, you're not going to affect anything in the external in a positive way. You're just going to project your own traumas, your own all the unconscious stuff. And that's what I believe, is that you have to start with yourself first. And like you said, I love that you mentioned that, because I heard someone talking about that recently, and I was like, oh, that's so true. About, you know, even just 50 years ago, people didn't really know what was going on in other countries. I mean, the news was still doing like the big things, wars and stuff, but and newspapers. But for the most part, they didn't know a lot of what was going on in other countries. And from a nervous system perspective, it's so unnatural to be exposed to that stuff when, like you said, traditionally that's how we would just live, was you just knew what was happening in your family and your community. And I think that's what we're designed to have the capacity for. And in this day and age, it's no wonder that so many people are suffering with anxiety and mental health issues and all this stuff, because we're just constantly exposed, especially through social media and smartphones. It's just literally in the palm of your hand now. Possibly. You're just seeing.
We'll have Mark Gober on, but he keeps bringing up these questions, but he's like, but what are we actually really designed to do? Maybe we have way more capacity than we think. Maybe we are literally designed to be like this, like, because we're attached to the infinite. So I'm like, I like the way that he goes with that, because I'm like, yeah, we do have a capacity for a lot more than we think. We're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, we can build our capacity, but I don't think we're necessarily meant to be able to hold all that. Like, even if we can build the capacity to, I don't think that that's what we're meant to hold, especially when it's all these atrocities and like really traumatic stuff. And again, when you know that it's all orchestrated and it's all like a, you know, it's a playing field for them, it's a battlefield, like you guys said, it's so unnatural. I just think it's so unnatural.
Yeah.
Look, you definitely have capacity and can build capacity, but it's again not black and white. You can have capacity, but in which direction are you taking it?
Yeah.
You can go into the woods and build capacity for survival, and then over time to connect to nature and then connect to the infinite. Or do you want to build capacity to process all the news and trauma and sit there paralyzed with your eyes just like, moving and seeing like you're
Right.
watching a horror movie all the time?
Seeing
I think
Yeah.
this
thing
is
now.
where the sovereignty conversation comes into place, yeah? Because
Yeah.
as if we want to be sovereign, we want to follow natural and universal law. We don't want to follow the deception. We don't want to follow the brainwashed reality, the fiction. We don't want to follow the fiction. We want to build capacity in the natural way.
Yeah.
We want to grow our physical abilities, our mental abilities, emotional abilities, and spiritual abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the side of intuition that I think is helpful as well. Because when COVID hit, before it even was called anything, the videos that I saw that were the beginning of it, the people falling over in China, I laughed.
ridiculous.
I laughed so hard. I was like, my intuition was like, that's fake. There's no way they were waiting there in their full, we call it mop gear. Did you guys call it mop gear? Your Israeli like chemical suit? It's like this guy falls over on a bus and there's people waiting in full chemical suits to pick him up and
ridiculous.
drag him out of the bus. So I was like, yeah, like the capacity I have now is much greater, but I was like, I could look at any story in the world. I'm like, I can have compassion for people. I don't get sucked into it too emotionally. I'm not picking a side either way. I'm able to pick out a lot more, not everything, but I'm able to pick out a lot more of the fakery. And that to me is, for me personally, is one of the primary survival skills now in this, what we could call the modern era. The real modern era is the ability to discern that fakery. I don't know what you would call it. There's like,
yeah, that does like
pattern recognition, you would call it.
Yeah, in the Bears we call it fake and gay. Like the things that are just out there to trigger your emotions to get you sucked in so they can sell you like whatever. It's like we can spot that a mile away, and it's actually kind of fun. We're just like, wow, like the Charlie Kirk thing. There's anomalies with it. I'm not attached to either side. If he was actually killed or if he's living on an island somewhere and they just fake the whole thing, it's like I don't really care either way. I have compassion, but I also don't identify with anyone. I just can observe it and be like, what a strange time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then at the same
it's
time,
strange
like,
because there's social media. It's been happening forever. It's strange because now we're exposed to all of it.
Yeah.
And bombarded with all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. People underestimate the level of trickery that is out there, but it's like, it's something so simple. We did that in the military with they call it PSYOP, psychological warfare. There's actually a military branch sort of for that. And they were headquartered in Fort Bragg. There's a psychological warfare unit. And they would bring out little tiny speakers in a little case, and they got to wear cool sunglasses like the special forces guys. They got to grow beards and feel like they were Rambo. But all they did was set up these little speakers, hit play, and it sounded like a big gunfight. And they would fake the whole thing. And then that was just one little trick that I saw them do. But it literally, when you're sitting next to it, it sounds like an intercom with a fake gunfire on it. But when you're across the field, it sounds like there's a whole line of troops shooting, like a whole battle going on. They could do this for a whole city. They could set up these speakers around it and make it sound like there's a freaking war going on. And you would never be able to tell the difference between actual gunfire and these fake things projected from a little tiny speaker off in the woods. So if they do something so simple like that to create confusion and create a narrative, like there was a lot more that they can do without actually having to put, bodies down to create a narrative that bodies went down. And we can't tell the difference. We can't tell the difference. So it's no use getting wrapped up emotionally. Yeah.
Wow. It makes you think about history, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cause there's school shootings and stuff. I'm pretty sure they use that on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like fake school shootings. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's good to be not hoodwinked. I don't know what the technical term for that would be, but that's number one skill in my book.
Yeah, discernment is so important.
Well,
So
you
anyways,
see, that's the whole situation when you have emotional involvement and connection, attachment to something, your logic can go out the window. I guess that's a part of spiritual practice, right? To
yes.
maintain that,
Mm,
to maintain that perspective, even when it's close to home.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
that's the
will
hard
feel
part. Yeah.
something because you're human.
Yeah.
Mm,
Just like for you, probably it was 9/11. For me, it's funny you said 9/11, and for me, 9/11 was the thing that I guess woke me up on the
mm,
political realm more than anything else. Because,
yeah.
as somebody growing up in the Middle East and constantly seeing fake stuff on the news and propaganda,
Mm.
when I saw that, I'm like, it's like Hollywood movies and the news. It looks exactly the same with the line running on the bottom, with the
Yeah.
Yeah.
images repeating themselves. It's like, oh, it's the same
Mm,
thing.
Wow.
yeah.
It's we talked about memory before, and now what you said with intuition, it just made me think about something that I find really interesting with how we have memory, which is our biological body's memory,
Hmm.
the DNA, and we have it in you said I came from bodywork, so working with fascia and tissues. So we have that physical memory in our body, but
Hmm.
then there's also energetic soul level memory. So what you said in the beginning, for instance, with you don't know why you were always training with guns. The thing is that you don't know if it's a biological memory through your lineage somewhere, or is it on a soul level when your soul came with the spirit into creating this body, this experience. Is it the soul's memory from other timelines, experiences, and when you were a different individual, or is it your grandfather and the physical genetic memory?
Mm,
Intuition as well. We have pattern recognition, yeah? So intuition, I would say it's like the soul's pattern recognition and memory, where instinct is the genetic body's pattern recognition. Oh, I remember that fire hurts. Stay away.
mm,
You would have the same thing with the soul, right? And that's your intuition. When you say, I have an intuition about it, it's still pattern recognition.
Yeah.
It's
mm,
still memory and then processing of memories and saying, oh, I have a feeling about that. Why do I have a feeling? Because I've seen it before and I know how it ends.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Both
I
of them
love that.
eventually are pattern recognition abilities. It's just something that came to me right now.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I love the way you explain things, Val. Like you have such a unique perspective. And because even the way you explained enlightenment before, that is honestly the best explanation I've ever heard of enlightenment, because we often say people think that enlightenment is this like place that you get to. It's just like, oh, I'm enlightened now. I did yoga for 3 years straight and I'm enlightened now. And it's like, no, that is not
Mm.
how enlightenment works. And it's not this, you know,
Yeah.
arbitrary destination. It's like you said, it's this process. It's
Even
like
the
this.
Kundalini awakening.
Yeah.
I know a couple of people that have had a quote unquote Kundalini awakening. And as profound as it is, and I'm sure it is, and can be very like enlightening, they still had some serious blind spots and some serious I would call it maladaptive behavior or something else,
Well,
but it was
unhealed trauma. It all
unhealed
stems from unhealed
trauma,
trauma.
Oh,
blind
Yeah.
those
spots.
are
Like
two
we all,
completely
yeah,
different things, completely different things. Enlightenment, and regardless of whether we're talking about true enlightenment, which is just growth of perspective,
Mm,
or fake one, which is,
mm-hmm.
I went to a yoga retreat, like you said, babe.
mm,
Those are, that has nothing to do with Kundalini awakening. Usually, if you want to know when somebody is having a true Kundalini awakening, is because they're crawling on the floor, crying, having a psychotic episode, and their body is literally falling apart.
mm,
That Kundalini energy that we all hold, it's a big problem. That's fake spirituality. There are people
mm,
out there that can trigger Kundalini awakening, just like hit the bottom of your spine and send the energy up. We are not built to hold it. People
mm,
that actually want Kundalini awakening done properly, they need to be monks for 40, 50 years. They need that discipline to be so on point, and their whole life, every grain that goes in their mouth, if they eat grains, every breath they take, everything they do has to be so, so precise and well trained for them not to lose their mind. That's not, we're not our bodies. I don't even know how many people on earth right now are there that can handle Kundalini awakening. So basically, awakening somebody's Kundalini for real, just like that in a weekend retreat, that's a crime. People die like that. People lose their minds like that. People get diseases that they can't heal from, heart attacks. It's not okay. I find it really dangerous when I see just random Instagram ads. Oh, come here, let's do a bit of breathwork and Kundalini awakening. Like, are you serious?
Like you're having, yeah, just like a yoga class. It's a Kundalini awakening class. We're just gonna.
Yeah, well, it's like plant medicine.
Don't fuck with that.
Yeah, but it's like plant medicine these days. Every man and their dog is an ayahuasca shaman, and so many people are doing these plant medicine journeys, and it's actually very damaging because it's not being done in the correct way. It's being done too many times. Like there's so many facets to it.
Well,
and essentially that's what they're doing. They're like opening up themselves spiritually and energetically, and quite often they're letting things in, and
they assume that, okay, I'm going to open up. They don't think, oh, it's going to close up, right? No. Sometimes it doesn't ever close.
Yeah.
It's possible that it can close pretty quickly, or it may just stay open for
just like the
holes
in your aura, like it's just like these energetic holes that let things in.
Yeah. Or you may burn the fuse, and there's so much going on that we can't see or understand. So messing with these things, it's not the end all be all. Some people that are like, if you feel drawn to it and you go into it and you come out and have a profound experience, some people are just like, that's the path that they're meant to go on. But some people, they may be falling to peer pressure, like around here in the Byron Bay area. I think it's just a cultural thing. Like it's, oh, this is the crew that I'm in, so we're all going to do ayahuasca. And it's like, it's
the spiritual journey.
Yeah. Like they just don't hear about the ones very often that are fried. We've had one of them on our shows, and we have another friend, the son of
I've heard lots of stories. Yeah.
Get fried.
I know more people that have been severely damaged from plant medicines than I know of people that have had really great experiences. Now, mind you, the ones that are quite damaged, they'll tell you that it was great, but you look at them in their life and you can just see, you're just like that. They're not right.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people that have been doing plant medicine and, still did it before, different stories. When it comes to that, I'm not talking specifically about, holes in the aura and everything that you've said, which is all true, because that I can see from basically anything, a weekend party, cacao ceremony, and I see people that are supposed to be, most of my clients are mentors and teachers and high-end practitioners, so that's usually who I work with. And a lot of them come with different situations that shouldn't be happening. And it doesn't take an ayahuasca ceremony for it. It can be the most mundane things and people are unaware of. And again, it's not really simple. Things can be a lot more complex. I usually explain things simply, but you need to have that whole connection. It depends on your upbringing, what genetic, body, soul, all of these components, your perception of life, your nervous system, your traumas, history, and how you interact with certain things, and then whether they will damage you or not. But what I do want to say when it comes to plant medicine is that I wish people were more aware of what they're choosing. If you're going to do anything with plant medicine, just be aware that everything has a spirit. So you're choosing to interact with the spirit of ayahuasca or the spirit of cacao or the spirit of something. But this something came from the plant kingdom, which has its own agenda. Do you know what the plant kingdom wants? Do you know what this specific plant wants? What its agenda is? When it's taking over so many people and plants its ideas and its ideology in them, and then all the people people say it must be true because everybody are seeing the same thing. Of course, the same entity is showing you the same things. I don't know if it's a good thing or not. That depends on your value system, your morals, and whether it aligns with you. Maybe for you, it's the right one. For me personally, I've never done anything that has to do with plant medicine or drugs in general. I only smoked weed a few times, but that's it. And more because you see, everything that I usually talk about, it comes from experience, not from books.
Yeah.
So I need to always remain neutral. And I've heard that a lot of times, well, you should try plant medicine because it will expand your awareness. It won't expand my awareness. It will bring somebody else's ideology, which is Mother Ayahuasca or whoever it is, or the fungi civilization into my awareness. But I'm interested in the human civilization. I'm not interested in at the moment in the consciousness of the fungi community or the realm of the plants. That's not where my work lies. So
Yeah.
I just hope that people will know that it's a choice. Okay, so now we join forces with the plant kingdom. Is that a choice that I want to make? Because it's not you exploring you, it's that entity speaking to you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really good distinction.
And again, it's also like people externalizing, like, oh, do it. It'll expand your awareness. There's a million different ways you can expand your awareness, and plant medicine's just one of them. And I believe, again, it's like if you think that you have to take a substance or see a certain practitioner or like it's this externalization of the power that actually lies within you that you have to access those, whatever the expanded consciousness.
Well, you see, but we still need sometimes interventions. That's why you are a practitioner. That's why I'm a practitioner.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Let
saw
me
it's
clarify. Yeah, let me clarify. It's when people it's almost like an addiction where they have to see someone for everything. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's always times where you need support, you need coaching, you need whatever. Absolutely. But it's when people become reliant on that.
But that's actually a really good point and something to talk about because you always see that there's a whole community of I'm a healer, I'm here to heal you, and people that are completely attached to that.
Yeah.
And then you have the other voice of we are self-healers, we can heal everything ourselves. Healing comes from within. So what's true? This or that? Well, it's both, right?
Yeah.
We need to understand that we are self-healers and we're the only ones who can heal themselves. And at the same time, we have blind spots. And why the hell is this dress falling off all the time? Not fair. So we have blind spots. We absolutely need somebody to support us with those blind spots.
Yeah.
And
100%.
I said it a few times in different platforms that I believe that is by design, but this time it's not the fake design. This is the universal design that us as a human collective, if we will not have, each one of us will not have our gifts and our blind spots, we will not need each other and we will be stuck in our own homes doing our own thing and just die out as a species.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
exactly.
need those connections.
I like the idea that I took this from Robert Kiyosaki, but he's kind of like I would consider him a mentor, although he doesn't know me. Yeah. I've listened to the stuff he's saying, and I'm like, spirituality from their perspective is interesting, but it's like who's the golf guy? Tiger Woods or one of these professionals. They all have coaches. They are like Tiger Woods knows how to play golf. He's really, really good. He still has coaches.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll have coaches for multiple things. In Kiyosaki, they have coaches for their relationship. They have coaches for their business. He's a good businessman. He's a good real estate guy. He has coaches for real estate. He's got coaches for taxes. He's got people to advise him. And that when people talk about that, like, oh, we're a king, we're kings, queen. Well, are you living like a king or a queen? Do you actually have a round table of advisors? Do you have coaches? Do you have people that help you
Mentors as well.
govern
Mentors.
those aspects of your quote unquote kingdom? Or do you just think you're all great and I've got it all on lock and it's just me and I'm the king and like I deserve all the praise and adulation? It's like the best kings, the best CEOs, the best elite professionals in any field have advisors. All of them have advisors, have mentors, have guides, because they
Yes.
know their blind spot is it exists. They can't see it. That's why it's a blind spot. So what you're saying is exactly right.
Yeah, actually, and this is a perfect segue because I want to move back to, because obviously you started in bodywork, and so what was the catalyst for you to move more into like the mentoring work that you do now? Because it is so important. Like what Isaac is saying really speaks to that. What was that transition like for you?
Oh, I've been doing it for a lot of years. So it's not a transition. I know that people usually know me right now as something, but just like with everyone else, we only see that moment in time. We don't see everything that came beforehand. But I've been practicing, I think, 14, 15 years. Yeah. So it's not something that just I magically changed. I started with body work and mainly working with the muscular system. So it was remedial massage, myotherapy, then orthopedics. I saw that everything, well, when I started, I saw each situation, each client, each case as a case study. And I would research more and more and more because my intention was to figure out puzzles. I'm a puzzle solver. I'm a pattern recognizer. That's what I care about. And a
Amen,
lot of us
sister.
that are, yeah, well, we're so similar in that,
Yeah, yeah.
especially people that in their blueprint are meant to be teachers. You need to explore, understand, break it down, and then teach. So I was at first it started for me with the need to, when I was more in my empath era, wanting to save everyone. Yeah, it was, I wanted to help people, and then people came to me, and they came to me, for instance, for a body work session, and then they're like, oh my god, that was incredible, I'm coming again next week. But I wasn't doing relaxation massages. I was doing orthopedic complex issues and then supporting pro and semi-pro athletes. So I'm like, okay, but you're coming here every week. Something is not working, because for the way I understand things, if something works, you don't come back. If
Right.
people are coming back, something is not working.
Yeah.
So every situation, I was researching it. How come I'm supporting people, but I'm not actually fixing it? And on that, I just want to say that even yesterday, I was still thinking about these things because it's not something that I still solved. It's like the work expands, but it always moves for me from, oh, I found a way. One session is enough. Because most of my recent sessions, I stopped doing individual sessions now, but every session, it was like you do the 90 minutes, 2 hours, and you don't need anything anymore. You have all the answers. And then it goes back into, no, actually, we all grow and progress and we need support. So I didn't solve it yet. But back then, it was only on the physical level. And yeah, so I tried to figure it out. The muscular system basically showed me that there's no way to solve an issue only through muscles when muscles are reacting. They're basically taking orders from, they're dependent on the fascia, and they're taking orders from the nervous system. So we're looking at the wrong place. That kind of over time, and also my mentor at the time for many years, David Fisher in Israel, he studied in France, osteopathy in France. So it's the best osteopath for all I know.
Wow.
He supported me on that way to go more into the osteopathic realm. When they look at all the body systems, they learn such intuitive and gentle way to feel each tissue that it kind of led me into looking more at the fascia. So I started studying that by myself from books, from courses. And I was like, yes, I finally figured something out. And then at the time when I was studying anatomy trains, structural integration, I was learning the whole thing by myself, starting to integrate it. And then I went to the foundations course and I realized that, oh my God, the whole maps, everything is, I got it. But when they showed me how they actually do the body work, I'm like, damn, it's again the same thing. So you're tearing fascia and letting it grow. So it's, I became more and more aware of the emotional side of things. And I'm like, okay, so we're basically re traumatizing people. It's like I was always looking for the connection instead of the isolation. And basically, that's how I think my process is going, from looking only at one system and then, no, that's not enough. Let's, instead of switching systems, I just expand. Okay, so it's, if it's not myo, like muscle, so it's myofascia. Okay, myofascia is not enough. Let's add the nervous system. That's not enough. Let's add the energetic. So what I do now is all of them combined, because I see it's just not enough. Basically, I a lot of the times I say that fascia led me to do energy work. Even though I was born like that, I didn't actually look at that too much. It was a big thing for me, because being in the body work world, as a manual therapist, you're always judged. You know, when you're surrounded by physios, chiropractors, it's just common that if you would say even something that has to do with the majority or with the mainstream practitioners, it's like you talk about intuition or that osteopathic gentle sense of fluid, of fascial movement. Usually you would be, eyes are rolling and you're one of those crystal wearer, you know?
Right.
So that was one of my biggest conflicts. I was really avoiding being that person. But then again, it's like I couldn't not be that person, because people would come to the clinic, and I know a lot of people were telling me, we're not here just for the body work. You're actually solving our issues. You're being our coach. I worked through so many things with you that in one session that my psychologist of 10 years didn't ever address, and I couldn't solve them. And I just understood over time that it's not just a conversation or just the body work. It's the combination of all, and the ability to see the bigger picture, the ability to see how a certain emotion can inhibit the nervous system and then get stuck in the body on a certain layer, and also how you even get to the physical body. For me personally, I'm so big on respect and ethics. How can you even, I started to find it disrespectful not only to do like this abusive and rough body work. Doesn't matter if it's muscle, deep tissue massage, or fascia, tearing the fascia like they do in Rolfing. But even just to touch a person without permission, you have the verbal permission, you have the emotional permission, but also the energetic. Like when I palpate the aura first. I check, like, I can feel your auras, guys, from here, and I can see how different they are and how different it is. Like your mindsets and your emotional states are right now, for both of you, they're in complete contradiction to your auras and how much you can allow me to come close. So in my eyes, it's really disrespectful to even come and like step into somebody's world without taking that into consideration. So I think that basically led me to teaching, not mentoring, to teaching, because I usually respond to what people want from me. I don't usually initiate. And a lot of my clients were asking me to teach these things. So I started teaching and doing in-person workshops to teach people how to do these things, how to do the physical stuff. I also had a phase when I really went deep into movement. I have a whole business around that, posture craft, when it comes to um, barefoot shoes, foot function, biomechanics of the whole body movement. So that was a big part of that as well. And when I started teaching all of these things, it was always an integrated part of that, to teach people how to respect the other person. How do you feel somebody's aura? How do you know how to palpate? How do you ask for permission on different levels? How do you feel those really gentle, subtle movements, truths? Because otherwise I just don't see deep help. I wanted to say solutions. Yeah, I really wanted to say solutions, because I always want to give people solutions, but it's just I'm coming to understand that the reality of us as humans are, that there is no such thing as root cause and there is no such thing as solution. We are on a journey of expansion, and everything is so multi-layered that the puzzle is so big, and it, especially when we understand that there's the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, the etheric body, the spirit, the soul, all of those memories, all of those, and that experience, you can just choose people to walk alongside you and offer you a higher frequency, offer you more knowledge, offer you more empathy, understanding, and guidance. And then when you're ready, you step away and you find somebody else, or you move together. It depends whether you align or not. Or you can do it yourself. It's a choice. But it's just, yeah, that's what led me to mentoring, to answer your question. But I still have more questions than answers, honestly.
Yeah, it's funny, as you were kind of going through your journey, there's so similarities between the two of us. And I think a lot of people that get into this sort of field of work experience the same thing, because that was kind of my experience, was like first focusing on the physical body. Like I got really good results from, because I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 when I was about 24. And really all that, because of course, the first thing I was offered was a lifetime prescription for antipsychotics or whatever the drug is. And I was like, no, thanks. That's like medicine's a last resort for me. And I literally just focused on diet and exercise was the one thing I focused on first. And once I regulated my body through that first, that was amazing. But then I still suffered with anxiety for years after that. And so it was this natural progression of like going through that and then realizing like, oh, it's not just the physical body. It's so much deeper than that. The emotional and mental layers. And then going to like really like for me, my sort of like deep spiritual journey has only been more so in the last sort of like 4 to 5 years. And then going into that and realizing, and it is, like you said, it's just so many layers. And I feel the same. It's like the more you learn, the more you quote unquote know, the more you realize you don't know. And it's like you just want to keep learning more. And I think, yeah, and I mean, because we've spoken about this, like for me now, it's tying in all of these different schools of thought and this different knowledge and, the modalities and stuff I use into something that is more cohesive instead of just like the sum of the individual parts. And I think that is the way forward, because as we know from mainstream medicine and even just society as a whole, we're just taught to compartmentalize everything into these separate parts. In medicine, you go and see a specialist. So you go and see a cardiologist for the heart, and you go and see a neurologist for brain. And it's like the body doesn't work like that. Everything is connected. And if you're not looking at the whole picture with someone, I think it's just such a drop in the ocean for what you can really do for them. And I love that. Yeah, that's a big thing for me too. And I am moving much more into the mind body connection. I think the mind body connection is so important, because I think in my experience, that's where I was the most disconnected. Like body, didn't want to feel it, didn't want to feel emotions, totally disconnected and living up in my mind. And it was like the mental anguish that I experienced in so much of my life. I just think was a big part of that. Because it's like these two aspects of yourself that are so connected and need to work together, just totally, totally disconnected. And I see it so much in this modern society, especially it's gotten so much worse, I think, with phones, social media. We're just conditioned to be living in the mind.
Yeah. But then you see, this is why we need trauma again. You see, you're noticing or just individual stories and experiences. Because when your perception grows, you understand that actually all of these aspects are important, right? So now you have that expansion. So we have even the physical body, we're talking about so many components, so many systems, and even just the whole entity of the biome, the bugs with their own personality, and then the fungi with their own personality, all of these aspects, yeah?
Yeah.
But then, so it grew, and now you're like, oh, all of them are important. But then you come back to your own individual story, which is, that was my struggle. So this is where I focus my work. But it always, the way, it's like in anthroposophic studies, the way Steiner explained it, yeah, the breathe in, breathe out, breath in, breath out. You have the expansion, the breath in, And then you breathe out and you focus. So you go in and you explore. And then you come back and you focus on what's yours.
Yeah.
And that's how we all come together as a human
Yeah, it's
collective.
impressive stuff. And I think the test of it is like does it actually work? Like with Alexa, I used to be in a relationship with somebody that was bipolar, and that was nightmarish. The experiences that brought.
Well, she was also schizophrenic, wasn't she?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
later on. But so I was like, you could say I'm like, after going through that kind of trauma, that was like high alert. If I got any whiff of any signals of like bipolar, this and that, I would just be like, out, I'm out, I'm out. And with Alexa, there was never any like hint of any kind of behaviors or anything like that that could be described like that. So
no, and mind you, just to clarify for everyone listening, I've never said, oh, I have bipolar too. Never. I got that diagnosis and I was like, that's a load of bullshit.
That's part of it, because like part of it's the quote unquote like misdiagnosis, like where you can have behaviors, but the DSM or whatever, it's so much crossover between all these different diagnoses. They just have something for anybody. But your lifestyle, your diet, like everything else is contributes to your behaviors and your reaction and your like it's all a part of a worldview as well. And you're right, absolutely right. It goes all the way back to energy at the very fundamental level. But you can change it. There's things that people thought were just forever. Like I'm talking like in the world that I came from, understanding this, you feel like, like, oh, someone's just bipolar, always bipolar, no matter what. And I knew people that were like that were still very, I would say crazy, but were off their meds, but were more stable than someone that was bipolar that was on their meds. But you can literally change these things that are like lifetime like sentences if you buy into that system. You can stop buying into it. You can change your lifestyle starting at small, minute things and have such a profound shift. And again, like Alexa said, she never identified with the bipolar thing, but I'm sure there was like a reason why the doctor said, this is what you are. This is what I'm going to label you. But if you don't accept that, you can figure out what it needs to change, and you can find that from within yourself. You'll always find places to go and things to learn outside of you, but the first point is decision inside yourself. That's not going to be my story. I'm going to change this. I have the power to do that. And if you don't have the belief that you can change that, that's actually something I would like to put to you, Valery, is if you don't have the belief that you can change it, how can someone maybe gain that belief, or what can they do to make that first step to change?
Well, first of all, before even going to beliefs, I think it really does separate us as people where we're at on our journeys, whether we want to be still in that, only in the more limited perception of, well, that didn't work for me. Should I look at alternative ways? And that's again the duality. Or can I, in a very relaxed way, step back and ask questions? Well, if that's my diagnosis, let's think about it. Who even came up with the word diagnosis? What is that system that gives us diagnosis? And what other approaches are there? Because Western medicine will give you one diagnosis, Ayurveda will give you a different one, Chinese medicine will give you another one. So do I actually want to identify with the diagnosis? What is symptoms? And who came up with that? And you can look at it that way. I think when that's basically spiritual work, yeah. The way I see it, that's that wider perception of things. When you're coming from that point of view and you don't over identify with things, the conversation about beliefs is different, because you even have less identification with beliefs to begin with.
Okay.
I can say I believe this, but at the same time ask the question, why do I believe that? What is my conditioning, and what led me to believe that at all? And is it helping me in any way? It's the conversations about even giving importance to your beliefs.
That's
So
super important.
I'm not a big fan of looking at things on that level and jumping in between. I believe that. Okay, it doesn't help me. How about I do some affirmations and I shift to that? No, let's go up a bit. What
You're
is my
absolutely right.
relationship with beliefs, with the mind? The
Yeah.
mind is just one of my personalities and aspects. Yeah, I have the mind, I have the soul, I have the spirit, I have so many aspects. And in IFS, in internal family systems therapy, they talk a lot about that. And all of those parts of us, when you understand that you are not one, you are all of those parts, you can choose from which part you operate. And then the more you work on integrating these parts and being okay with the fact that you would still always have different parts, because your parasites and your gut are not talking the same language as your soul, right?
Yeah.
They have different interests and different agendas. When you are okay with that contradiction and that paradox in your life, it changes everything. So I know it doesn't directly answer your question, but I think that's usually how I answer most questions, because I feel like a lot of the questions are asked only in a very black and white way,
Yeah.
when actually the answer lies a bit higher above.
No, you're absolutely right. That's so funny because it takes it back to that quote that I like. Alexa and I both use it as from Kiyosaki. There's three sides to a coin. There's heads, tails, and the edge. And the edge is being able to step out of the polarity and look at both sides. And that goes back to our earlier kind of all over the place conversation about all these psyops and tricks and the, whatever people believe. But what you're saying is that's why I believe that we're probably more resilient away from being sucked into another story and another polarity. Is why do we believe that? Why do they believe that? Why do they believe that? Who and we don't spend a lot of time on this, but like if someone believes that there's reptilians in the Queen of England's bloodline and stuff like that, well, what's the information for that? Why do they believe that? I don't automatically just believe that because I hate the royal family. It's like, it could be, it may not be. I don't know. I don't have the information, but I'm willing to go there. I'm also not attached to it. And
Yes,
that
yeah,
gives you
that's the
some
only thing that you
freedom.
can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the true freedom. Well, at least on that level, the what we're speaking about now, because obviously there are layers to that as well, and some of them are not in a physical body, not on this plane.
Yeah.
But while our soul is dense enough to experience a physical genetic body and this realm, yeah, I think it's just making peace with the fact that the reality is that there is that bigger perspective as well as our individual experience, and it's not a contradiction.
Yeah.
Like there is a bigger truth as well as individual truth. Like what you were saying about like how you see things, and then Alexa, how you see things, that masculine feminine, like in our family we have that as well. Yeah, I'm all for let's create the new world in a new way, and just with that freedom, commitment, sovereignty, discipline, but in a different way, the way we want to see the future for our families. And then I have my partner who is the masculine, and no, we need to fight against this and we need to fight against that because evil still exists. It's in your face, like how you can't pretend you don't see it. So I can see the fact that we are in duality as well as not in duality. There are aspects of us that can see the bigger picture, and there are aspects of us that are in the dual world, and we have to play by the rules of the dual realm. It's both. It's like both and neither.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is
Yeah.
both and neither.
Yeah.
That's basically spirituality. If you want to say spirituality in one sentence, both and either.
Yeah.
Brain, deep, like unconscious brain, both and either. Here you go.
Yeah.
Here's the explanation of everything, both and either.
Yeah. It's like my new favorite saying. One of the very few things I can say in Spanish is ¿Por qué no los dos? Why can't we have both? Well, I don't know if that's the exact translation, but it's like, why not have both? And it is because, and I say it all the time, hey, because so many different things will come up. And that's why Isaac and I will have these conversations. And often we have quite opposing views on things, but often when we talk about it, it's like, yeah, you're right. And this is my perspective and I'm right. And it's like, you can have both. And I think, again, bringing it back to the individual, it's like we need to collectively build our capacity to hold both, because I think that's a big problem, is like most people can't hold both. They're like, no, it's only this way. And they're so polarized by things.
Yeah. And I like to challenge myself to go there a little bit. And I find it more useful because I'm very, what's the term for that? Where you like utilitarian or whatever, but not exclusively. I'm both, but I like, so like going back to like this the craziest thing you can pull out, let's say like the tax system, for instance, very oppressive, keeps people down. It's like the government's boot on your neck. I also look at it as an opportunity. I'm like, wow, there's a lot in the tax code that people aren't taught to use that will help you be free. There's some layers to that that haven't even really been fully fleshed out, but they're being tested by people that we know that are very exciting for the freedom community, where there is legal resolve or resolution in the tax code that is quite a good opportunity, but it's a path to get there. So these things that are against us all the time, when people are in that fight mentality, it's like the battlefield thing as well. That's why I'm combining these two worlds, because it's so useful. There's utility to it. It's like, I don't have to go out and shoot anybody or whatever. I can if I need to, but I don't need to. But that same thing where you're looking for opportunity, you're looking for my enemy of my enemy is my friend potentially, or like there's a potential that maybe there's a royal, maybe there's a half reptilian that has inside knowledge who might want to help us, who might actually want to be doing something different. Maybe he's bored of the enslavement of humanity for generations. Maybe he wants to help us, make levitating little energy orbs we can fly around in. I'm open to that. I'm
if they
calling
have
that in my
personalities,
reality.
why not? Right? If they have their own agendas and personalities and interests, they're also individuals.
Yeah. So it creates more opportunity, more things, but it's also, you got to be more responsible, because you don't want to be too open, too easygoing, because you lose boundaries. And boundaries isn't just about keeping you safe, but it also creates order, creates beauty, creates symmetry, makes things a little bit more enjoyable. So
Have you noticed how it's like with boundaries, usually when you're going back to the empath and, people pleaser and overgiving, all of that, trauma personality, how it's like when you're in that state, you feel like boundaries are basically like an evil word, and you're afraid to have more boundaries because you feel like you won't have any friends or anyone around you. If you're a practitioner, you won't have any clients if you will start being clear with your boundaries. But then when you completely step out of it, you're like, oh my God, life is so much better. And the people are so much high level individuals in my life, people that also have boundaries, and it actually makes relationships better, your practice better, everything in life, just your own life expression is so much better. Boundaries are such a must. It just, for the traumatized nervous system, it's hard to comprehend. You need to actually get there to understand that boundaries are beautiful, exactly as you said. You said it so well. I've never heard it said like, elaborated like that, but it's really beautiful.
yeah, thank you. That's
He comes out with little nuggets of wisdom every now and then.
that's when my brain shuts off and my mouth just keeps moving. Just like
That's channeling. That's download. What people say, I'm in the flow.
yeah.
When you talk, you're in the flow. That's that. Brain shuts down and your other aspect speaks, your divine aspect.
Yeah.
It's fun. I feel like, because I'll get tingly sometimes when I'm talking, and you can probably see it in this show when we're speaking. I'll get kind of excited, and I'm like, I wonder if anybody else is as excited by what I just said, because it's not me. I'm not like, oh, I'm so smart. I'm just like, this feels really good to say this and to be this clear on some idea. But channeling.
Oh yeah, you can be sure people on your frequency. You can be sure of that. People that are on the same frequency, they sit at home, they listen, and they're like, ooh. Ooh, I get goosebumps when I hear that. Yeah, it does work like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm very aware of the time and it's just flown. I feel like we could talk to you for hours, Val. And it's so funny because the one thing we really wanted to talk about, like the one topic that we said, we didn't even go there. So I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point in the future. But please let people know how they can find you. Love you on Instagram. Like go and follow Valery on Instagram. Like I love watching your videos. I just love how authentically you show up. Like one of the first videos I ever saw of yours was you were talking about something and you know, you can hear baby in the background. You're like, yep, that's baby in the background. We're all used to it by now. And then you just carried on with what you were saying. And I was like, I just love that. Like, I love that you are just who you are, you know, babies in the background, noise. There was something else you posted recently, which made me laugh out loud when I heard it. You're just talking. And then I don't know, something about, oh, that's right. You were talking about like your body and you were just like, oh, and my boobs. Oh, where are my boobs? I don't even know where they are after all these years of breastfeeding. I love it. Anyway, let everyone know where they can find you and how they can work with you.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing because I'm thinking when you say you show up authentically in my head, like you mean dirty, yeah? Dirty. Authentically dirty. Yeah, so my Instagram is valery.alignment. But if you just write Valery Alignment, you'll find me. As you can see on the screen, Valery with a Y, not IE.
Mm-hmm.
My website is valeryalignment.au. And I'm basically on a lot of platforms, I think, but all of my stuff are on Instagram, a bit on YouTube, Valery Alignment, and my website. At the moment, I'm being very, very deliberate and specific with the things that I'm doing because I'm basically at capacity with mentoring, and I have Global, which is the healing container for practitioners, therapists, healers, and other mentors. I don't know yet when I'm going back to do one-on-ones, when, how, but right now my focus is on my family. And I'm basically at capacity with work, but I'm always putting out so much content, whether it's Instagram, whether it's free recordings. I'm also thinking of doing a lot more classes and then putting it on the website, like the one that we did. So I just, as I said, I usually respond to people, yeah? So I ask people, what are they after? So just my future plans at the moment is doing a lot more classes when it comes to emotional mastery and how to live your life. And then at the same time working on a course for intuitive body work, which is the neurofascial energetics and how to do body work that connects to the nervous system, trauma aware and energetically safe, aware, and connected. So that will be probably announced on Instagram and my website as well.
Awesome. I love it.
Great. Well, keep up the amazing work. It's fun. It's inspiring. And I think part of that too about the authenticity, it's like when someone says stuff that might potentially be a turnoff for some people, or it's like, oh, I'm offended by that or whatever, like, and they just say it anyways and just keep speaking truth. It just builds trust, I think, because it's like, it just shows that you don't care if everyone listens to you. It's like the message is here. This is what I feel like saying right now. If it's not the most packaged the way that's the most professional or the whatever, if you still find it valuable, cool, hang out. If not, but that builds trust because people are like, they know you're not lying to them because you're willing to say stuff that's uncomfortable. You're willing to say stuff that's not always pretty or not always, this facade.
That's what I love about you the most, Valery. That's how I knew you were Eastern European, because there's just no, it's just like cuts through all the bullshit. Yeah, you just say it how it is. You don't care if you offend anyone. I'm like, this is my type of person. Like, I love it. And I just, as you were talking to about all the things you do, I was like bringing it back to the being a manifesting generator. This is like the beauty in being a manifesting generator. You got a little baby, you're raising kids, you're doing workshops, you're at capacity with mentoring. Like, that's the gift of the manifesting generator, is that like you can do all these things and do it well.
Thank you. One more thing. We also have a business network.
Oh, yes, of course.
Australia, the Crunchy Business. Yeah, Crunchy Business Network Australia.
Yeah.
We have that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's a great, I'm on that Facebook group, and it's so awesome to be able to connect with other like-minded businesses and network. We'll have all those links in the show notes. Go and check them out and go and check your work out. And that's the other thing I love with you, Valery, is that you're at capacity with mentoring, but you have so many other offerings that are so valuable. Like even just the stuff you post on Instagram is so valuable. So everyone just start there. Start with
Thank
Instagram.
you.
You'll love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I thank you for telling me what you think and sharing with me. I'm always happy to hear, because everything that I do talk about, everything is in response to what people want. So the more you tell me, it doesn't matter if you tell me that's a bunch of crap and I don't care, or yeah, do more of that. Please
Yeah.
do.
Love
All
it.
right. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming in and being natural AF with us.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, gorgeous people. Thank you. Love you lots.